Wealth is not built in a day, and neither is its legacy. The richest families in the world know something most people overlook. It isn't just about making money, it's about keeping it, protecting it, and ensuring it outlives you by generations. This is why dynasties don't just vanish when a patriarch passes away. Instead, their power continues, sometimes for hundreds of years, through invisible frameworks like trusts, discrete private foundations, and heirlooms with more than sentimental value. These tools aren't just paperwork, assets, or antiques. They are carefully engineered vehicles of power, secrecy, and control. But what makes them so effective? And why are the world's wealthiest so obsessed with them? Before we unlock the mysteries behind these financial fortresses and symbolic treasures, make sure you stick with us until the very end of this video. And if you enjoy uncovering the secret world of luxury, exclusivity, and wealth, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. Now let's begin. The silent guardians of wealth. For most people, the idea of passing on wealth is simple. Write a will, leave behind some money, maybe a house or two, and that's it. But wealthy families play an entirely different game. They don't trust wills alone because wills are public, contested, and vulnerable. Instead, they turn to trust, a centuries-old invention designed to move wealth out of reach from taxes, lawsuits, or mismanagement. The origins of trusts stretch back to medieval England, where knights heading off to war would place their land in the custody of another nobleman to manage on behalf of their heirs. Over time, this legal trick evolved into one of the most powerful financial shields on Earth. Today, when a billionaire dies, their wealth doesn't get sliced apart in probate court. Instead, it lives inside layers of trusts. These trusts appoint professional managers, set strict rules, and ensure that no single heir can recklessly burn through the fortune. If you've ever wondered why the Vanderbilt dynasty crumbled while the Rockefellers still enjoyed generational affluence, the answer lies right here, in structure, not just size. Trusts don't just protect, they also control behavior. Want your children to inherit money only if they graduate from top universities, avoid scandal, or marry within certain circles? A trust can enforce that. It's money with conditions, guiding heirs long after the founder is gone. Foundations, power disguised as charity. Now let's move from trust to their equally mysterious cousins, private foundations. To the public eye, foundations look like noble charities, supporting art, education, science, or global development. But behind the facade, they often function as dynastic engines of influence. Think of the Ford Foundation, the Rockefeller Foundation, or the Gates Foundation. Yes, they fund hospitals, scholarships, and research. But they also preserve influence, ensuring family names remain etched in history while allowing assets to grow tax-advantaged for generations. Here's the genius. By placing wealth inside a foundation, the ultra-rich can avoid massive estate taxes. Rather than giving billions to the government upon death, they donate it to their own foundation. This doesn't mean they lose control, because the family usually controls the foundation's board. The money still acts under their guidance, just through a different channel. Even more strategically, foundations allow billionaires to shape culture and policy without holding public office. Funding universities, media, or think tanks quietly influences the direction of societies. And it all happens under the cloak of philanthropy. For old money, foundations are a way of saying, our wealth will work forever, even when we're gone. Heirlooms more than objects. While trusts and foundations work in the shadows of law and finance, heirlooms live in plain sight. A diamond tiara, an oil painting, a centuries-old watch. On the surface, these look like family treasures, but they carry weight far beyond sentiment. In aristocratic Europe, heirlooms served as portable wealth. Wars could strip away castles, but a hidden sapphire brooch or a signed Rembrandt could keep a family alive, fund an escape, or restart a fortune abroad. Today, heirlooms serve another function: cultural continuity. They remind each generation of where they came from, binding them not just to wealth, but to an identity. In modern dynasties, heirlooms often serve double duty as financial instruments. A rare Patek Philippe watch or a Picasso painting doesn't just sit in a safe, it appreciates sometimes faster than stocks. Passed through generations, these heirlooms act as stealth investments, often stored in private vaults in Switzerland or Singapore, where tax authorities barely touch them. To the outside world, it's just grandpa's old painting. To the family, it's a $200 million time capsule of wealth and prestige. The strategy of secrecy. Put together, trusts, foundations, and heirlooms create a three-layered defense system of wealth. Trusts shield and control. Foundations extend influence while optimizing taxes. Heirlooms preserve wealth in tangible, symbolic form. But here's the most fascinating part: secrecy. The wealthy do not broadcast these strategies. In fact, the most powerful families often live quieter lives than flashy new money. While tech billionaires show off yachts, old dynasties lock their strategies deep in legal frameworks, centuries-old family offices, and vaults that never make headlines. The secrecy itself becomes power. By staying in the shadows, they avoid scrutiny, jealousy, and the constant risk of being taken advantage of. The average person never even realizes how the wealthy continue their dominance. To really understand how these mechanisms work, let's step into the lives of the world's most powerful dynasties. Take the Rockefellers. At one point, John D. Rockefeller's wealth accounted for more than 2% of the U.S. economy. Without structure, such fortune could have collapsed into chaos after his death. Instead, the Rockefellers created a complex web of trust that not only divided assets fairly, but also set ironclad rules for spending. Today, more than 200 heirs live comfortably but not recklessly. Family councils meet, rules are reviewed, and the trust ensures the empire thrives across 7 generations. Compare this to the Vanderbilts, who at one time were America's richest family. Cornelius Vanderbilt left his descendants one of the greatest fortunes of the 19th century. But without protective structures, his wealth was squandered in just a few generations. Lavish mansions, gambling, and unchecked spending left heirs broke. While the Rockefellers still gather for family meetings to oversee billions, the Vanderbilts today have little financial power left. Or look at the Rothschilds of Europe. Known for banking empires spanning nations, their true genius wasn't just in making money, it was in keeping it hidden. They pioneered the art of placing assets in family trusts across multiple countries, shielding wealth from war, revolution, and taxation. Even Napoleon, who tried to cripple them, could never touch the invisible fortress of Rothschild family trusts. These examples reveal a brutal truth. It isn't the size of the fortune that matters, it's the structure protecting it. While the Rockefellers and Rothschilds set the blueprint, today's billionaires are quickly learning the same lessons. Consider Silicon Valley wealth. Tech founders who built empires in a decade are now establishing private foundations that bear their names. They talk about giving back, but their legal teams are quietly ensuring that their fortunes avoid the claws of estate taxes. A $10 billion fortune might shrink to $6 billion if handed down carelessly, but with the right trust and foundation strategy, the wealth can endure untouched. Even newer billionaires in Asia and the Middle East are adopting these Western models. Sovereign wealth funds, charitable foundations, and family offices are mushrooming across Singapore, Dubai, and Hong Kong, quietly funneling fortunes into structures that ensure children and grandchildren inherit not just wealth, but influence. And let's not forget the role of private banks in Switzerland and Liechtenstein. These banks specialize in designing labyrinthine trust networks, ensuring a wealth moves invisibly through international borders. When scandals erupt in the press about secret accounts, that's just the tip of the iceberg. The deeper reality is that entire dynasties operate out of sight, funding political campaigns, cultural institutions, and investment ventures, while never appearing on official rich lists. The psychology of heirlooms. If trusts and foundations are the skeleton of dynastic wealth, heirlooms are the soul. Every powerful family guards its treasures. These aren't random possessions. They're carefully chosen objects that embody legacy. The crown jewels of Britain, for example, are not only priceless artifacts, but powerful symbols of continuity. They anchor the monarchy in tradition, making every coronation feel like a link in an unbroken chain, stretching back centuries. But even outside royalty, heirlooms have extraordinary weight. A Cartier bracelet once worn by a grandmother, a rare Stradivarius violin, or a watch engraved with initials. They carry stories that money alone cannot replicate. Families guard them fiercely because losing an heirloom feels like losing identity itself. Here's the fascinating part. Heirlooms also discipline heirs. Owning the family's rare painting or diamond necklace isn't just about wealth, it's a responsibility. The item carries expectations to behave with dignity, to live up to family history, to avoid scandal that might tarnish the legacy. And beyond emotion, heirlooms often serve as hidden banks. A rare piece of art can be used as collateral for loans, moved discreetly through free ports in Geneva or Singapore, or sold privately for hundreds of millions without drawing attention. It's wealth that travels, wealth that doesn't sit in a bank account waiting to be taxed. How the layers work together? Let's put this puzzle together. A family fortune might look something like this. The bulk of assets sit inside trusts. These pay out income to heirs but prevent reckless spending or divorces from draining the pot. The philanthropic wing sits in a foundation. It builds schools, funds medical research, and donates to cultural institutions. To the world, this looks like generosity. In reality, it's a dynasty shaping society while preserving tax advantages. The identity of the family is enshrined in heirlooms. These treasures, whether jewelry, manuscripts, or classic cars, become the cultural glue binding generations. It's not just about money. It's about creating a system that ensures wealth, power, and family name live on as though immortal. Of course, all of this comes with a hidden price. For heirs born into these structures, wealth is never fully their own. A trust might cover your lifestyle, but it can also restrict you. Spend recklessly, your payouts stop. Marry someone the family disapproves of, you might see your inheritance vanish. Foundations too can shape behavior. Serving on the family foundation board isn't optional. It's a duty. You may want to start your own path, but family legacy can feel like a chain around your neck. And heirlooms, they're beautiful, but they also bind you. Wearing the family jewels means carrying expectations you didn't choose. This is the paradox of dynastic wealth. Immense privilege paired with invisible cages. Why secrecy persists? Despite these restrictions, families cling to these systems. Why? Because secrecy and control are safer than chaos. The wealthy know something that the rest of the world forgets. Fortunes can vanish quickly. One reckless heir, one lawsuit, one scandal, and centuries of effort can dissolve overnight. These structures are insurance policies, not just financial, but psychological. They reassure every generation that no matter what storms hit, the dynasty will survive. And that's why even today, in an era of cryptocurrencies and space exploration, the wealthiest families still use medieval tools. Trusts, foundations, and heirlooms to guard their power. Family offices, the hidden command centers. If trusts, foundations, and heirlooms are the pillars of dynastic wealth, then family offices are the secret command centers. A family office isn't a typical financial advisor. It's an entire private company created for one family, managing everything from investments to household staff. The largest ones, like the Rockefeller family office, are empires in their own right, managing billions across real estate, stocks, private equity, and art. Inside these offices, lawyers, accountants, and investment strategists work quietly to ensure every trust, every foundation, and every heirloom fits into the grand strategy. They coordinate tax planning across multiple countries, shield assets through shell corporations, and maintain the veil of secrecy that protects the family from public scrutiny. To outsiders, these offices barely exist. There are no billboards, no public advertising, often not even a nameplate on the door. But behind closed doors, they wield influence that rivals entire banks. No discussion of wealth preservation would be complete without offshore havens. Countries like Switzerland, Liechtenstein, the Cayman Islands, and Singapore have built reputations as financial fortresses. They offer discretion, low taxation, and airtight legal systems designed to attract the world's richest families. Here's how it works. A trust might be established in the Channel Islands. The assets inside it, yachts, real estate, or even a private jet fleet, might technically belong to a company in the British Virgin Islands. Meanwhile, a family office in Geneva oversees the operation, reporting only to the heirs. To the outside world, the ownership trail disappears into a fog of legal paperwork. That's the beauty and the danger of these systems. They don't just preserve wealth, they hide it. Scandals like the Panama Papers and Paradise Papers gave the public a rare glimpse into this shadow world, revealing how politicians, celebrities, and billionaires quietly stash fortunes offshore. But even those leaks showed only fragments. The deepest, most carefully built dynasties remain untouched, their structures too complex to unravel. Old money versus new money. This is where the real clash begins. Old money families, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the European aristocracies, have perfected this system over centuries. Their heirs are trained from childhood, not just to enjoy wealth, but to preserve it. They attend discreet schools, serve apprenticeships in family offices, and learn the language of trusts and foundations before they can even drive a car. New money billionaires, on the other hand, often stumble into wealth overnight. Athletes, entertainers, and tech founders suddenly find themselves with billions, and just as suddenly lose it. Without structures, their fortunes bleed away through divorces, lawsuits, bad investments, or overspending. That's why even the flashiest tech billionaires are now quietly hiring old money advisors, building family offices, and pouring fortunes into foundations. They've realized the truth. Without structure, wealth is temporary. With it, wealth becomes eternal. The fascinating part is this. To the public, wealth looks simple. A billionaire on the Forbes list, a luxury yacht, a palatial mansion. But behind the curtain, real wealth is not in the yacht itself. It's in the trust that owns the yacht, in the foundation that funds the marina, in the heirloom painting hanging quietly in a vault as collateral for the next big deal. True dynastic wealth is invisible. It does not shout, it whispers. It flows through trust, foundations, and heirlooms that most people will never even see. And perhaps that's the greatest secret of all. The wealthiest don't just own money, they own time. They design structures that will outlive them, ensuring that their family's name, influence, and power remain intact centuries after they're gone. So, what are the real secrets of trusts, foundations, and heirlooms? That they are not simply legal tools, but fortresses of legacy. That they don't just protect money, they control behavior and shape culture. That in the end, the quiet wealth of old money will always outlast the noisy fortunes of the new rich. And just when you think you understand how dynasties work, just when you believe you've caught a glimpse of their hidden machinery, remember this: what you've seen is only the surface. The deepest layers are still locked away, out of sight, out of reach.